You'll be amazed when you hear the true story of Atlantis. Which philosopher spoke grandly about it? Why did it sink? Do you think this magnificent city really existed? Or was its purpose to remind us of a lesson we had forgotten? Here are all the facts. When you look into the depths of the ocean, there is always a secret hidden there that your eyes cannot see. Thousands of meters below, covered by the silence of the waves, lies a city surrounded by seaweed and coral, Atlantis. As the salty smell of the water reaches your nose, a faint sound of waves echoes in your ears and merges with a strange silence. This silence is the whisper of time and history. Atlantis symbolizes human curiosity and the desire to explore, but it is also a warning. It shows the fine line between virtue and pride. As described in Plato's works, this city is not merely a physical place. It is an allegory that delves into the depths of human nature. The arrogance that comes with power, wealth, and splendor has been a recurring theme throughout history. Imagine a city where the echoes of footsteps on its stone roads are silent witnesses to thousands of years ago. Could this city have truly existed, or is it merely the product of a philosophical lesson? Now, prepare to embark on a journey through the labyrinths of history and mythology. Plato's Atlantis was filled with palaces made of gold and marble, magnificent squares, and enormous harbors. The dazzling splendor covered in those golden hues merged with pride and arrogance in the eyes of the people. However, beneath this splendor lay the weaknesses of human nature and the fragility of civilization. Picture the daily life of the people, men and women gliding through the squares, dressed in gold-embroidered garments, aware of their power with every step. Children played on the stone-paved streets, while the elderly sat on the steps, gazing around as if listening to the silences of the past. Everyone was alone with their own desires in the world of their own minds. But the splendor brought by this wealth had gradually turned into a shadow that prepared civilization for its own demise. The conflicts with Athens were not merely a struggle for land or power. They laid bare the limits of human nature and the value of virtue. In Plato's allegory, while a simple and disciplined life was praised, the splendor of Atlantis served as a warning. So, are you curious? Is this lesson still relevant in today's world? If you were in their place, could you keep your power and splendor in balance? You can join the discussion with your comments. According to legend, Atlantis had a circular city layout. In the center of the city stood a palace rising toward the sky. Surrounding that palace were canals, stone bridges, and streets woven with complex engineering marvels. As the salty breeze of the sea swept through the stone streets, you could feel the coolness of the stones beneath your feet. According to Plato's account, this city could accommodate more than 2 million people and had an egalitarian social order. The echoing footsteps in the streets seemed to carry the silent testimony of history. The smoke rising from the houses mingled with the warmth of the wood fire, filling the air with a faint scent of wood. The dome of the massive palace in the city center rose toward the sky, its stone walls painted gold by the sunlight. The people who lived here could feel the breeze coming from both the sea and the land, traveling by boat to the deep waters. The idea that Atlantis was such an advanced city presented an image that challenged the imagination. Do you think such a city could have really existed? Or was it a utopia created by Plato's pen? Imagine the inner world of the people of Atlantis. Those walking in the light of golden palaces took their steps without questioning their own power. The young tested their knowledge and skills, while the elderly remembered the lessons of the past. Every person harbored both curiosity and fear. Pride had seeped into every corner of the city like black smoke over time. The people admired their own splendor, overlooking simple virtues. Just imagine for a moment a child standing in front of a gold-covered statue in a market square, looking curiously at the statue's face while observing his father's arrogant attitude. These allegorical details laid bare the weaknesses of human nature, the limits of its frailties, and the responsibilities that come with power. The splendor of Atlantis was not merely a physical structure. It was also a textbook for humanity. Every stone, every water channel, and every palace dome whispered silent warnings from the past. The echoing footsteps in the streets, the cries of the market vendors, and the cheerful shouts of children created a contrast between the city's majestic face and the fragility of human nature. The mixture of seaweed and fish odors filling the air blended with the salty aroma of the sea, while the rhythm of the water reflecting off the canals added an almost symphonic tempo to the bustle of the streets. The people of Atlantis seemed lost between the hustle and bustle of daily life and the uncertainty of the future. Some were immersed in their work, others simply admired the splendor of the city. However, unbeknownst to them, this quiet unease and fragility was a harbinger of a catastrophe that would soon shake the city. As you crossed the bridges, the coolness of the stones could be felt in your palms, and the gentle lapping of the water echoed melodically in your ears. The city seemed to be showing the people a premonition of what was to come. The warm orange light emanating from every window reflected the family's lives full of security and affection, merging with the city's splendor and power. Walking through the streets, the sounds of children playing mingled with the quiet whispers of the elderly, reminding us of the lessons of the past. It was possible to understand that Atlantis was not just a city, but also a culture and a way of life. This city was like a laboratory that brought together both the beauties and weaknesses of human nature. On the one hand, human creativity and curiosity, and on the other, arrogance and excessive ambition coexisted in the spirit of the city. As the sun slowly rose in the sky, the inhabitants of Atlantis were immersed in their daily routines. Children were playing, merchants were displaying their wares, and fishermen were pulling their boats into the harbor. But on the horizon, beyond the sea, a dark shadow had appeared. A slight tremor echoed through the stone-paved stairways, and a quiet shudder ran through the people. The sea seemed to hide a furious beast beneath its calm surface. A group of fishermen, approaching the harbor through the channels, noticed that the waves' usual rhythm had been disrupted. The water rose and fell as if carrying a silent rage, and when it crashed against the harbor's stone walls, it emitted a faint but unsettling creak. People thought this was a normal natural occurrence, but in Plato's allegory, it was the first sign of the disaster caused by pride and excessive power. The unease in the people's eyes combined with inner anxiety, and although many did not notice it, the shadow of the approaching disaster was slowly falling. In the market square, in the shadow of the gold-embellished statues, people looked at each other and discussed the situation in anxious whispers. Some downplayed the situation, while others were aware of the impending disaster. An old man turned to the young people and murmured, "Remember, all splendor has its limits." Although the young people did not seem to take this seriously, the trembling in their eyes and their rapid breathing revealed their inner fear. A young girl clutched her father's hand tightly, her eyes sparkling with both fear and curiosity. "Daddy, what's happening?" she whispered. Her father simply shook his head, trying to hide his helplessness in the face of the unknown. "Everything seems fine," he said, but his voice trembled. This small scene dramatically reflected the fragility of human nature in the face of disaster and the conflict between pride and virtue. Suddenly, the earth shook. Dark clouds covered the sky, and violent winds began to echo through the streets. Water overflowing from the canals rapidly filled the squares and streets. The coolness of the stone roads slipped beneath their feet, the cold splash of water sending shivers through their chests. Fishermen tried to save their boats, but huge waves swept everything away uncontrollably. The scene of disaster symbolized the destruction resulting from human arrogance and pride, just like in Plato's allegory. The splendor of Atlantis began to collapse overnight. The golden domes of the palaces disappeared beneath the water. Stone bridges shattered, and canals swallowed the streets. The leaders of Atlantis were frantically trying to make decisions in their palaces. Each ruler, realizing the limits of their power, was inwardly accepting the inevitability of disaster. Their eyes reflected both the responsibility of leadership and utter helplessness. A small child watched the waves rising from the sea, feeling his mother's anxious gaze. The child, caught between insecurity and fear, tried to understand his family's struggle for survival. His mother's trembling hands and his father's determined yet fearful gaze were memories that would remain etched in the child's mind. This scene showed not only physical destruction, but also the fragility, helplessness, and inner conflict of the human spirit in the face of disaster. Each step of the disaster revealed the people's struggle with both the outside world and their inner worlds. A tsunami rapidly advanced toward the city center. As the palace dome disappeared beneath the water, stone bridges shattered and canals swallowed the streets. The cries of the people, the howling wind, and the colossal crash of the waves combined to create a dramatic symphony. The moment when Atlantis' splendor and the people's arrogant lifestyle were wiped out in a single night brought the entire allegory to its climax. In Plato's allegory, this destruction was not only physical, it was also a test of human nature. Excessive wealth and arrogance had overshadowed virtue, opening the door to disaster. Every gold-plated wall, every marble column, witnessed the destruction of humanity's own creation. After the catastrophe, the city fell silent. Only the gentle lapping of waves and the creaking of stones could be heard. People and civilization had vanished, leaving behind only ruined buildings, shattered roads, and the silent depths of the water. The sea's surface had swallowed Atlantis' splendor, concealing the reminders of the past. The city that once shone with the light of golden palaces was now lost in shadows. Yet, the story of Atlantis does not end in the depths of the ocean. Its silence echoes in our world today. When you look around, do you not see reflections of Atlantis in our modern civilization? Skyscrapers reaching for the clouds, endless wars for resources, the relentless hunger for wealth and technology, and the destruction of nature, all of these mirror the arrogance that once consumed Atlantis. Climate change, rising seas, and devastating natural disasters remind us that the Earth, just like the ocean in Plato's tale, has limits. Humanity's ambition, if left unchecked, can turn even the greatest achievements into warnings carved into history. Perhaps the legend of Atlantis is not only about a lost city, but also about us here and now. Every time we exploit nature, every time we value power over virtue, we are rebuilding the same fragile city on the edge of collapse. The fall of Atlantis is a mirror that forces us to ask, are we heading toward our own destruction, or can we still learn the lesson it tried to teach? If we listen closely, Atlantis becomes less of a myth and more of a prophecy. It warns us that no matter how advanced our technology, how vast our empires, or how proud our civilizations, arrogance and imbalance will always summon the waves. The true wisdom lies not in conquest, but in harmony between humanity and nature, ambition and humility, progress and responsibility. And perhaps, by heeding this lesson, we can avoid sharing Atlantis' fate. From another perspective, the reality of Atlantis calls us not only to archaeological curiosity, but also to confront our own inner worlds. If this city had truly existed, Could people have controlled their own arrogance? What would they have done to avoid disaster? These questions carry a deeper meaning than the historical reality of the legend. Because when we think of Atlantis as an allegory, every stone, every palace, every canal becomes a warning. Humanity invites destruction the moment it overindulges in its own splendor. Therefore, the answer lies hidden within your own inner journey. What choices would you make? And what mistakes would you strive to avoid as you discover your own Atlantis? How would you balance ambition with humility, power with responsibility, and curiosity with wisdom? Do you find yourself more captivated by the historical reality of a city lost to time, or by the philosophical and moral lessons it offers? What would you do differently if faced with the same temptations of pride and excess that once consumed its people? Could you recognize the early signs of imbalance in your own life before they grow into something overwhelming? How would you preserve the delicate harmony between human achievement and the natural world, just as the waves remind us that the earth has limits? This is where the magic of the legend lies. As you ponder these questions, the story transforms from a simple tale of a sunken city into a reflection of your own soul, revealing not only the fragility of civilization, but also the boundless potential of human insight and conscience. Share your thoughts with us in the comments. Open up your perspective, your fears, your aspirations, and your imagination for discussion. Perhaps Atlantis will never reappear, but this legend will continue to teach humanity lessons, to challenge our thinking, and to feed the imagination. So, are you ready to embark on the journey to discover your own Atlantis? Is it the city's historical reality that fascinates you most? Or is it the enduring philosophical and moral message that resonates deep within? Close your eyes and let your mind drift over stone bridges and golden palaces, into the depths of the sea, and remember, this is not just a legend, it is a mirror for humanity. With the hope that one day, through reflection and understanding, you will discover your own Atlantis, not lost beneath the waves, but alive within your consciousness. See you in the next legend.